This is News Today, and you're very welcome. Over 140,000 delegates of the opposition New Patriotic Party will on Saturday, October 18, 2014, elect a new presidential candidate for the 2016 polls. Three contenders, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, Francis Addai-Nimo, and Alan Kyeremanten, are vying to lead the NPP into the 2016 general elections. The election will be held across 276 polling centers in all constituencies in the country, with a winner on the day expected to be announced by 10 p.m. One of the aspirants in the presidential primaries, Alan Kyeremanten, has been meeting the press, and to have an idea of what he has been saying, Kwabena Hene Boateng has joined me over the telephone. Kwabena, tell us what Alan has been telling you.
Well, Kemini, thank you. And Alan Kyeremanten arrived here just about 10-15 minutes ago. He, after a while, started addressing the media. He has been speaking to us. Well, I wouldn't want to use that word, but it seems to be the case that he's still reiterating reasons why he should be the obvious candidate, the obvious choice for the New Patriotic Party. Though they do insist that it isn't any form of campaign, the remarks and the comments seem to suggest something of this. But the rather interesting thing that is actually happening here, fascinating, I must say, is the surfacing of two very familiar faces. Now, one of these persons is a gentleman who many describe as, okay, he actually is an aide to General Secretary of Party, Kwabena Japan, popularly, many people call him OPK. Well, he's here. I don't know whether he's part of the organizers or the coordinators, or he's here in any other capacity, but he is here. Additionally, the rather interesting one is the presence of a spokesperson of former President John Ejekun Kufuor, who is here, the person of Frank Ejekun. He's actually here. But I've been speaking to him, been trying to get an interview with him. He has declined speaking to us, but I've been interacting with him nonetheless, and he's saying that he's not here in his capacity as a spokesperson of the former president. This is the former president has decided not to meddle in the party affairs. He's here in his own capacity, and even with that, he was invited to just witness it. So he just came here to witness it. I pushed further to ask why he wasn't, if indeed he was invited, and he chose to come. We should have probably seen him yesterday at the Akufo-Addo's rally grounds as well. But he did indicate that he wasn't invited, and at the time he was also in the school. But some way, somehow,
I see.
There is enough time for him. So he's actually here now. I'm listening, Kimni.
I'm just going to have you hold the line a bit. So let's listen to Alan Kyeremanten, who's currently on the screens.
Presidency will offer. My vision for Ghana is to build a prosperous, modern, industrialized, and peaceful country with a well-educated and healthy citizenry who have equal access to opportunities without prejudice to their political affiliation, gender, age, religious faith, or ethnicity. An Alan presidency will focus on four main policy priorities. First, maintaining a stable macroeconomic environment, not just for some time, but for all the time. And I want to stress this. Maintaining a stable macroeconomic environment, not just for some time, but all the time. This, I believe, is a necessary condition for all the other policy priorities that I'll be talking about. The most critical policy measure in this regard will be the following. First, maintaining fiscal balance between government revenue and expenditure. This will require a total and not just a marginal transformation of Ghana's tax regime in order to prioritize and optimize tax revenue without it being a disincentive for economic production. Government should not be allowed to spend when they do not have the resources to do so. regardless of the importance that is attached to that particular expenditure. This would also require undertaking a comprehensive public sector-wide systems audit to reduce wastage in whatever form, and also a more aggressive clampdown and zero tolerance for corruption. The second policy measure is to reduce government debt, whether foreign or local, significantly to sustainable limits. This will require a more serious oversight by Parliament, and I believe that Parliament's oversight and the concept of checks and balances must not only be restricted to the issues of political governance, but also for economic governance. I'll propose that Parliament's oversight in terms of government maintaining fiscal discipline must not only be limited to foreign loans, but more importantly, to domestic government borrowing. Over a 3-year period, government's reliance on treasury bills to finance domestic expenditure must be completely eliminated or reduced significantly. This will do two things. It will reduce government debt and at the same time release more loanable funds for the private sector for economic production and activity. The third policy measure, still under maintaining a stable macroeconomic framework, the third policy measure is to maintain a realistic value of the cedi in order to create a progressive balance between encouraging exports and restoring and reducing the cost of importation. As I'm sure you are aware, with a declining value of the cedi, there are those who would argue that that would promote exports. But we also know that that has a significant impact on the cost of production in our country, particularly because we are an import-dependent country. So in trying to look at a realistic value of the cedi, my message is that we must maintain a certain level of value of the cedi that will create what I call a progressive balance between encouraging exports and reducing the cost of importation. Borrowing from external sources to support the value of the cedi is not sustainable. And we all know that part of why we are seeing a gradual improvement in the value of the cedi is because the government has been able to pump part of the proceeds of the Eurobond issue and also the syndicated cocoa loans.
Right, so that's Alan Kyeremanten addressing members of the press. My colleague Kyeremanten Boate, who is at the event, is still with us here over the telephone. Kyeremanten, having followed through with these, you know, or with this particular election for the NPP, would you call this press conference absolutely necessary?
Well, the press conference is still ongoing, so unless, of course, he's done with everything he's saying, I wouldn't be in a position to actually make a statement on it. But things we've heard, preliminary comments from him, seems to suggest that, I mean, these are things we've been hearing time and time again, particularly messages he has for delegates and the party as a whole. And all. These are things he's been sharing out in his campaign. So it's causing many to wonder whether or not this is even a campaign of some sort.
The point I'm driving at, actually, is the fact that Usually, since the campaign started, the message for the delegates would be about being the best leader for the NPP. But this one seems to be around national issues. It looks like a really smart way of putting himself out there for the delegates for the last time, without necessarily touching on campaign issues.
Well, indeed, that is true. He has been mentioning about why he's obviously a better candidate to lead the party in winning power for 2016. But I'm also going to be saying, well, let me actually quote this thing he said. He said that this contest is not about the individual ambitions, but who can move Ghana forward. Those were actually one of his introductory comments, that he thinks he's the best person to lead the party into 2016. There have been one or two things he's mentioned about the party. He says he will be in a position to unify the party if given the mandate by the party. And that is what is leading many to actually think that possibly this is some sort of campaigning, which clearly goes contrary to the party's stipulated guidelines this election. So then we are still waiting. Hopefully, we'll get answers from some persons here. We are told Alan Kyeremanten is not going to be speaking to the media after this interview, after the press conference. I mean, he's just going to speak, and that is it. And Philip and as well as Nano Hinintu are going to be doing all the talking to the media after he's done with that. So, but possibly, maybe we can try and see whether we could get some answers from the party hierarchy.
Very well. Thank you very much for your time. Kyeremanten Boateng joined us from the press conference of Alan Kyeremanten. Don't forget to make time here on Joy News tomorrow from morning till evening, or till the final candidate for the NPP is announced as they enter their National Delegates Congress October 18. Right here on Joy News, we'll bring you live coverage and up to the second update of what is going on.